Clemson. Why do we put Clemson on this list, CD?
Well, first of all, we talk about tough schedules. We first want to see tough out of conferences, and it doesn't get much
Yep.
tougher than playing Georgia, right? And then
Yep.
on top of that, you also have App State, who I get it. If you're not familiar with college football, like App State is scary to see on your out of conference schedule early in September. They are a killer. Ask Michigan, ask A&M, ask UNC, who's had about a dozen battles with them, right? Also, we talk about South Carolina staying in the Carolina area. South Carolina on the schedule, who has had Dabo's number, right? At times, him and Shane Beamer, and
It's a rivalry
obviously
game. Out of
it's
conference rivalry game.
never easy, never easy. And also, you talk about in conference, right? You have NC State, who a lot of people love going this year in the ACC, right? And obviously we're big fans of Robert and I and that staff there, Dave Doran at Florida State. I get it. Florida State might take a step down, but also like they're still going to be pretty darn good. And you got a two Tallahassee, right? And then you also have Louisville on that schedule at Vatech. It's not an easy schedule by Clemson standards at all. And obviously we talk about tough schedule in college football. They're going to need to go 11-1, right? Win their conference to make this um college football playoffs and to have a bye and to do all the things that they want to accomplish, get back to Dabo Sweeney football.
Yeah. And look, you can look at the schedule, and obviously every schedule is relative, right? So this is all relative to an ACC schedule. Okay. So yeah, I know they play Stanford and they play Wake Forest and Virginia and Pitt. Okay. But that's not to neglect, like, let's not like neglect the rest of their schedule, man. Like you said, the out of conference, the Citadel. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But seriously, like the out of conference is pretty tough, and you draw some of the toughest teams in the ACC. And I don't know that there's tougher teams that you could draw. Maybe Miami. Miami would be the only tougher team that they didn't draw on their schedule that I could possibly think of. But yeah, and there's a lot of pressure on Dabo Sweeney. Some are comparing him to John Calipari right now. Some are doing that. And I don't disagree with that. I heard it some folks in the back room in the Tech Second Radio. I heard it on Cover 3 podcast. I heard it on another radio station. I saw it on Twitter. It's going around. Dabo Sweeney, there's some pressure to win right now at Clemson. Garrett Riley. I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now. You had 6 yards per attempt passing, 9.6 per completion, both in the bottom 10 nationally. I mean, that's not what you wanted. It's not what you wanted. You thought you had a quarterback. Maybe you do still. I don't know. I was never necessarily a believer from the start, but there's certainly some pressure to perform. Is it going to ride entirely on Phil Maffa's shoulders and this defense? I don't know. Are we going to see some youngins like Peter Woods rise up? I don't know. All I know is that relative to the ACC, this is a pretty tough schedule. And do I think that they can navigate it pretty decently? I do think so. I do think they'll be able to navigate it pretty decently, but there is pressure to win now.
Yeah, and my questions with Clemson right now is offensively, yes, we know that the spotlight is on Cade Klubnik and Garrett Wright, like you said. You're bringing in some pieces. You're getting Antonio Williams healthy. Tyler Brown comes back after a productive freshman year. You lose Will Shipley to the draft to a lot of. I saw a comparison to him to Reggie Bush. Now I don't know if that's necessarily true college-wise production,
That
but
was I saw the same one. That was dumb. That was a dumb
how
comparison.
they projected the pros. Maybe it doesn't matter. Will Shipley was a very dynamic player for your offense when he wasn't fumbling the ball in key games. Phil Moff on the other Phil Maffa, Jake Springstall. Like, there's some talent there to be had. Hopefully, you figure out your line. You bring in Matt Luke, who's been, obviously a revelation on that offense side of the ball, recruiting wise already, but also hopefully instilling a culture back to where they had elite O linemen. To me, my question is with that defense side of the ball. You lose a lot of guys, in my opinion, in that secondary. Right, we talked about Andrew Makuba. We talked about him earlier in the year going over to Texas. That's a big get
Nate
for Texas.
Nate
Tough
Wiggins
loss.
headed up to the NFL.
Nate Wiggins, Sheridan Jones, Xavier Thomas, obviously 5-star, never quite lived up to it, but still very good veteran piece that you're losing. I like their D line. Yes, I like the young guys there, but Wes Goodwin and Mickey
Jeremiah Trotter.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, you got a lot of guys to replace there. And yes, it's been different offensively, in the past couple years, but defensively is to me where they used to have a massive advantage over guys, and ever since they lost. Wow, I am blanking on his name. The D coordinator over at Oklahoma now.
Brent Venables.
Thank you, Brent Venables. My goodness, I'm getting back in there. I'm getting my feet back under me. But anyways, Listen, to me, that's where it's been. And I think the mentality has to change on that side of the ball as well. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah. How about Bo Collins? Losing him at receiver.
Yeah. You're gonna know
Uh,
right away though, too. I mean, Georgia, if Georgia embarrasses you in week one, that's gonna sting. That's 2 straight years, right? 2 straight years of getting embarrassed by Duke last year, and then obviously Georgia, pummels you. That's the people not gonna be
yeah.
happy with Dabo Sweeney. They need to come out and make a statement there.
Yeah. Now you can lose week one by 40. I mean, you can add to Georgia, you can ask Oregon and still have a good season, right? You can do that. But
But I
I mean,
also think
it would nice to see like, hey, are you actually like is Clemson? They should be as talented as Georgia, right? Because the way that they recruit. I mean, not sorry, that's an overstatement. But they are a blue chip football program that has enough talent to physically be on the same field as Georgia. If they look like they can't, then it's like, all right, Dabo, is this strike three? I mean, like you have
what
not you've taken three strikes right down the middle in terms of the transfer portal. You just watched them go by, you know.
that's the thing. Their over-under total is 9.5. And to be honest, with this schedule, you're looking at Georgia. You're not gonna be favored in that game at Florida State. Probably not gonna be favored if by any in that game. NC State, you got to beat. Like you can't have any of the slip ups. And the problem is with this Clemson team in the past couple of years, they've had some slip ups and games they should not have lost.
Virginia
How much
Tech
different is it this year?
in Blacksburg.
Yeah, you don't think they're gonna be
That's pretty
robbed?
scary. Like that's
Absolutely.
pretty scary. And say like they're in a barn burner with Louisville and they're like, oh, what a great win. What a great win against a good Louisville team. Only to walk into Blacksburg the next week and watch Kyron Jones put up a Heisman performance.
Well,
Just
enter Sandman. Yeah, that's not an easy place to play at all.
absolutely.